Good evening and welcome to another episode of Cooking with Curtis. Tonight we're going to put together a meal made of pork chops, broccoli, and homegrown potatoes. So come on in, let's get started. So tonight's meal consists of pork chops, broccoli, and fortunately for us, homegrown potatoes. The first thing we're going to have to do this evening though is prepare the pork chops. As you can see, we have a large family, so we have several pork chops to prepare. We're going to show how we tenderize them and what we're going to marinate them in, and then we will prepare the rest of the meal while we wait on the meat to marinate. So to marinate our pork chops, we're going to use this Thor-sized meat mallet to tenderize the meat. I like to do both sides because I'm going to go ahead and put some seasoning rub on both of the sides, and perforating the pork chops allows it to be able to mix into the meat a lot better, so that way you get a better result from marinating the meat as well as seasoning it. And so once you've relieved a little frustration, tenderized your meat, we're going to go ahead and pick whatever seasoning salt it is you prefer. Tonight I've just got a basic seasoning salt. If you want something particular that you find flavorful, you can go ahead and rub it in. I don't think that you're going to go wrong. But since the meat's been tenderized, we're just going to sprinkle a little of the seasoning salt in on every one of the chops. Basically just rub it into the perforations that you just made from the mallet. Make sure you do it to the other side too. We're going to be adding a lot of stuff in, so I'm just lightly seasoning these so it's not too powerful. It's going to wind up cooking into the meat anyway once you have it sitting for a while. Now that we have our chops tenderized and rubbed, we're going to go ahead and prepare our marinade for the meat, and then we're going to let it sit for about an hour. You can let it sit up to almost one day depending upon what it is that you choose to marinate with, but I've found that just about an hour is adequate enough before you go and cook it or grill it, which we're going to do tonight. So let's move on to the marinade. We're going to take the juice of 2 limes, some sriracha sauce, some soy, as well as some fresh cilantro, and we're going to mix that up, and we're going to put our chops in there and let it marinate for an hour, and you'll get some very favorable results. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the lime up and squeeze the juice out. Try not to take off a finger. It doesn't usually lend to very good results with cooking. If you want to cheat, you can use the lime juice that they sell in the store, whatever's to your liking. I find that actual juicing a lime seems to taste better. I know where it's coming from, so, and it's usually fresh. But whatever you prefer, depends upon the time crunch that you have. And you can really use any size container that you want, depending upon the number of pork chops that you're marinating. Like I said, we have quite a few tonight to go through, so I'm using a little bit bigger container than I normally would. But anything will work, as long as we get the right combination in here. Mix it up, let it sit. We'll be good to go. And since we got the lime's juice, we're just going to put a little bit of sriracha in. You don't want a whole bunch of it, otherwise it'll be a little bit too hot. Just depends on what you like. My family doesn't particularly care for things that are super hot, but just having a little bit in there cooks in nicely. Then you want to put a pretty significant amount of soy sauce in, because you want to make sure that you have enough liquid in there to be able to cover the number of pork chops that you have, so that way you can get good marination. And then lastly, we got some fresh cilantro that we're just going to slice up. Again, mind the fingers. You can use a chopper. I just like to cut mine up. I mean, they're really just going to go in for the marinade. So get it cut up here. throw a little bit in here now. I usually save a little bit and sprinkle it on top after I've got pork chops in. Okay, looks like we've got them pretty well covered up here with our marinade. We'll just throw some cilantro here on top. And we'll let that sit for an hour, come back to it, and we'll take them out to the grill and cook them up. So we're going to go ahead and utilize our pot, our steam pan, and our cover. We've got the potatoes that we've started. We're going to start, and we're going to use the same water to be able to steam our broccoli when we get to it. We've gone ahead and marinated our pork chops. They're out by the grill. We're going to go over all of that once we get to it. I'm not going to show the grilling process because I think that most of you have that covered. I do recommend when you take them out to the grill, put them on the top rack so then that way they don't cook too fast. Usually you're going to have to cook them for probably about 10 to 12 minutes, but you can check them periodically, and depending upon the thickness of your pork chop, it might need a little bit longer time. We're going to go ahead and start. We're just going to boil our potatoes. You really only need to cook those for about 10 to 12 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and take those out, use the water, and steam the broccoli, and then we'll be able to put the entire meal together and show you what the results are. Now that we've brought our potatoes to a boil, we're going to go ahead and multitask, and we're going to go ahead and steam the broccoli that we've decided to add to our meal this evening. Put it in the steamer. Put it on our potatoes, put the lid on, and really ideally for steamed vegetables you really don't want to do anything more than about 3 to 5 minutes because you want to deepen the green hue of the broccoli. You want it to be mushy, but you want it to be crisp so that way you lock in the vitamins and nutrients of the cruciferous vegetable that it is you're eating. After our broccoli's been on for about 3 minutes, you can see the deep green hue, which means that we're probably pretty good to go. We're going to remove that, and then we're going to spoon out the potatoes, and we're going to show the final prep meal. Something else I like to do, especially when I have whole potatoes or potatoes that we get from the garden fresh, is I like to prepare a little olive oil drizzle that I put over it. And you can prepare this while your meat is marinating because you can let the olive oil sit, and then I mix in rosemary with the olive oil, and it gives it a nice flavor to put over it. And it's an alternative to butter. You can use that if you want. I find that it tastes pretty good, especially with the potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and put some in here. Stir that up a little bit, and then just let it sit. So here it is, the final prepared meal tonight with Cooking with Curtis. We've got our pork chop, which we grilled on the grill for about 10 minutes on the top rack, some broccoli, potatoes, which we were lucky enough to be able to get from a homegrown farm, and some bread to complement the meal. Now what we're going to do is the olive oil and rosemary mixture that we combined when we decided that we were going to add that in with the marinade so that way it could sit for the same amount of time. We're just going to go ahead and ladle over the potatoes that we have here. So that way we have a little accent and flavor to the potatoes. And voila, there you go. Hope you enjoyed tonight's cooking lesson, and we'll see you next time on Cooking with Curtis. Thank you.